Now that we have learned what lines of latitude and longitude are, today we're going to practice using them to find locations on a map. Remember, the equator is the main line of latitude. It divides the Earth into the northern and southern hemispheres. Everything north of the equator is the northern hemisphere, and everything south of the equator is in the southern hemisphere. The United States is in the northern hemisphere because we are above or north of the equator. And the prime meridian divides the Earth into hemispheres side by side or vertically. We have the western hemisphere and the eastern hemisphere. And there you see the United States is in the western hemisphere because we are west of the prime meridian. So the United States can be described two ways. We are in the northern hemisphere. We are in the western hemisphere. Or you could go one further and say we are in the northwestern hemisphere. Now let's find some locations on our map. The lines of latitude and longitude have been given numbers. They measure 1, 2, 3, 4 on the northern and the southern side of the equator, as well as on the eastern and western. However, that would be a lot of lines, and so we're only showing here every 15 lines, so we're skip counting by 15. Let's look to see where some of these locations are by finding their lines of latitude and longitude. First of all, we're going to look at the square. I see the square is below the equator, so it's going to have a first measurement of southern. We always use the line of latitude first. So we have a southern measurement of 75 degrees, and it is eastern of the prime meridian, so we have an eastern measurement of 135 degrees, and we would write it like this: 175 degrees south and 135 degrees east. Now the circle is next. Do you see it north of the equator or south of the equator? Right, it's north of the equator. So it is 45 degrees north and still in the eastern hemisphere. So it is 120 degrees east of the prime meridian. 45 degrees north, 100 degrees east. And then the triangle, I bet you can find the measurement of the triangle. It is north of the equator, and it is east of the prime meridian. You're going to get to answer that question yourself in just a moment. Let's also look at the location of where we live here in Georgia. There it is. It's close to where this circle is located. Let's see if I can move it down just a little bit. We are close to where the lines cross right there. So for your second question, you're going to tell where that spot is right there where the circle is. Do you see that it's north of the equator? Is it in the eastern hemisphere like the other three were? No, it's in the western hemisphere. So those are your clues. It is north of the equator and it is in the western hemisphere. Let me see if I can see the lines it goes to. Let's see, it goes here and it goes this way. Oh, over to 30, and it goes this way up to 90. That's close to where we live. I look forward to seeing your answers.